In our headlines on this Tuesday, September 2nd, here in South Korea, President Kim Jong-un is scheduled to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Tuesday, September 23rd, and preside over a Security Council session. Meanwhile, North Korea's Kim Jong-un travels to Beijing in his signature armored green train to attend China's Victory Day parade that is scheduled to take place on Wednesday. And South Korea replaces all 7 of its 4-star generals who were in charge at the time of the former administration's short-lived martial law on December 3rd. We start with news of an upcoming diplomatic agenda for the president later this month. He's scheduled to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York and preside over a Security Council session. Our Yoon Jung-min reports from the presidential office.
President Lee Jae-myung will attend the UN General Assembly in New York on September 23rd to address its 80th session.
President Lee will share with the international community the Republic of Korea's experience of overcoming a crisis of democracy and recovering from it. He will also present our government's vision and policies on key global issues, including the Korean Peninsula.
He is expected to lay out his vision for peace on the peninsula and resuming dialogue with North Korea. This as the leaders of North Korea, China, and Russia gather in Beijing this week for a Chinese military parade. Just last week, the heads of South Korea and the U.S. met and shared their thoughts on resuming dialogue with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Eyes are also on whether there will be another Trump summit, just 4 weeks after their first meeting, with U.S. President Donald Trump also set to address the UN chamber on the same day. This comes ahead of the upcoming APEC leaders meeting in South Korea's Gyeongju this October, where Trump is also expected to attend. And the meeting means more than just that for the South Korean leader, as he resumes multilateral summit diplomacy, 3 months after making his debut at the G7 summit in Canada.
President Lee will strengthen solidarity with the international community and carry out various diplomatic activities to enhance Korea's status as a responsible global power.
South Korea has assumed the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council for the month of September, and Lee will preside over an open debate on September 24th on AI and related global peace. He will be the first South Korean president to lead such a session as chair. The presidential office says it hopes this will serve to reaffirm Korea's global standing as a trusted partner and bolster its leadership in multilateral summit diplomacy. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, earlier on this Tuesday, the president presided over a cabinet meeting on new growth strategies that was aired live. Our top office correspondent Song Yu-jin has the latest.
The second of President Lee Jae-myung's cabinet meeting discussions to be broadcast live centered on ways to boost South Korea's economic growth. President Lee opened Tuesday's session by highlighting encouraging figures from the domestic economy.
7월 산업 생산, 소비, 설비 투자가 나란히 증가세로 전환됐다고 합니다. 현장 민생과 직결된 소매 판매의 경우에는 소비 쿠폰 지급에 힘입어서 29개월 만에 가장 큰 폭으로 증가했습니다.
But he also sounded the alarm over the country's weakening potential growth rate, which is already in the upper 1% range and projected to dip to the low 1% range by the end of the decade.
적극 재정 그리고 생산적 금융을 양대 마중물로 삼아서 신기술 혁신 지원, 규제 개혁, 산업 재편, 인재 양성 등을 포괄하는 범정부 차원의 종합 대책을 신속하게 수립해서 추진해야 합니다.
That said, the floor was open to the ministers to weigh in on the challenges and possible solutions.
Our economy is under strain from a shrinking workforce, weak investment, and stagnant productivity, driving down growth potential. We've also fallen behind in AI and green transitions, while U.S. tariffs are reshaping global trade, leaving not only smaller firms, but even major corporations struggling.
The finance minister noted that a significant portion of next year's 728 trillion won budget will go toward artificial intelligence development.
We'll invest in AI infrastructure to help businesses and universities expand adoption more quickly. At the same time, well-trained top-tier talent develop a homegrown foundation model and establish AI innovation hubs in Gwangju and Daegu cities, and Jeollabuk-do and Gyeongsang-namdo provinces.
Another focus was adapting to the changing export environment shaped by the Trump administration's sweeping tariffs.
가능한 범위 내에서라면 수출 국가 다변화에 좀 주력을 좀 해야 될 것 같아요. 새로운 수출 국가 개발이나 수출 품목 개발을 좀 집중 지원하는 방식으로 차등을 두거나 아예 우선 지원하거나.
For example, the Korean wave has fueled strong demand in related sectors in the Global South. We will work to reduce dependence on the U.S. market and enable our small and mid-sized firms to expand exports in these areas.
Tuesday's discussion reflected the president's commitment to prioritize stabilizing people's livelihoods and finding new growth engines following his back-to-back trips to the U.S. and Japan. 송유진, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., the White House has shared 40 official photographs depicting candid moments from the first summit between President Lee Jae-myung and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump at the Oval Office last Monday, that is August 25th. Our Lee Seung-jae takes a look.
The White House has unveiled a detailed look inside last month's summit between South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and U.S. President Donald Trump, releasing dozens of photos on the image-sharing site Flickr. With the meeting being held on August 25th at the White House, it presented a high-stakes meeting aimed at strengthening the alliance on security, trade, and technology. But most of the photos captured a cordial atmosphere throughout Lee's visit. Images include Trump welcoming President Lee at the West Wing entrance, their talks inside the Oval Office, and the two leaders shaking hands at the historic Resolute desk. Perhaps most symbolic was Lee's handwritten message in the guest book. He wrote, "In the golden era of the South Korea-U.S. alliance, a strong and great future starts anew." The signing of the guest book was also followed by Trump's fascination for the pen brought by Lee, specifically for the summit.
Is that your pen?
저기 펜이 직접 그 대통령
Yes,
that's my pen.
That's a nice pen.
Additional images show Trump and Lee watching television coverage of their meeting together, as well as Lee smiling alongside Vice President J.D. Vance and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. On the South Korean side, the delegation included Foreign Minister Cho Hyun, National Security Advisor Wi Sung-rak, and Industry Minister Kim Jong-un, all seen in photos accompanying the president during key moments. Observers noted the summit went forward smoothly despite Trump posting a critical social media message about the Lee administration just before the meeting. The newly released photos, however, emphasized the cooperative tone and symbolism that both sides sought to highlight. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
North Korea's Kim Jong-un is expected to have arrived in Beijing to attend China's Victory Day parade scheduled to take place tomorrow, that is Wednesday. For more on this, I have my colleague Kim Do-yeon live on the line. Do-yeon, welcome. So what's the latest?
Sunny, while Kim Jong-un's arrival hasn't been confirmed, it's been expected that he should be in Beijing by now. As he left on a train on Monday, the visit is drawing significant international attention as it marks his first ever attendance at a multilateral event. He is known to be accompanied by high-ranking officials, including Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee. There is also speculation that his wife Lee Seol-ju or his daughter Kim Ju-ae may be part of the delegation. Meanwhile, South Korea's National Intelligence Service held a closed-door briefing at the National Assembly today. Here is what one lawmaker told reporters.
He is expected to receive special treatment, including protocol and security on par with that of Putin. The NIS projects that he will stand alongside Xi Jinping and Putin on the Tiananmen Gate rostrum during the September 3rd military parade. The NIS also anticipates a North Korea-China summit and a meeting between the leaders of North Korea and Russia.
Kim's official engagements are scheduled to begin this evening ahead of the military parade on Wednesday morning. A key point of focus is whether a trilateral meeting will occur between Kim, China's Xi Jinping, and Russia's Vladimir Putin. However, the NIS assesses that an immediate three-way practical cooperation is not likely due to international scrutiny. According to the agency, Kim's objectives include strengthening economic support from China and advancing security cooperation with Russia. The NIS also suggested the North Korea leader may seek Beijing support in arranging another summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. His journey to Beijing, covering some 1,300 kilometers, reportedly took more than 20 hours due to the chain's heavy armor and the state of North Korea's rail infrastructure.
Right. Toon, beyond the parade then, what else is expected to be on Kim Jong-un's agenda while in China?
Right. He is scheduled to attend a cultural event on Wednesday evening, along with approximately 20 other world leaders and representatives. This is Kim Jong-un's first visit to the Chinese capital in over 6 years. During his last trip, he toured science and technology centers, but given North Korea's current economic difficulties, analysts expect this visit may have a stronger economic focus. For now, Chinese state media coverage of Kim's arrival has been minimal. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Thoron, thank you for that coverage. Now, ahead of his departure for China, Kim Jong-un reportedly made his way to a missile research institute to be briefed on a new intercontinental ballistic missile. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung explains.
Ahead of his journey to Beijing to attend the Victory Day military parade, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited an intercontinental ballistic missile research institute. There, he reviewed the production of a new high-powered solid-fuel engine for ICBMs that he said would be used not only for the Hwasong-19, but also the next-generation Hwasong-20 ICBMs. This marks the first disclosure of the latest missile under development since the regime test-fired a Hwasong-19 ICBM last year, October. What's notable is that the new solid-fuel engine has a maximum thrust of 1,960 kilonewtons, roughly 200 tons of force. One expert says the reason behind regime increasing the thrust of the engine is to develop a much stronger ICBM.
The Hwasong 18 and 19 used a 140-ton thrust engine. Now that's been upgraded to 200 tons. With more thrust, the missile can carry heavier and more powerful warheads, or even multiple warheads to hit several targets at once.
Kim highlighted the new solid-fuel engine uses carbon fiber composite material. When solid fuel burns, it releases exhaust gases that give thrust to the engine. The nozzle where the gas comes out needs to withstand a lot of heat, and this is where the carbon fiber composite material is used.
Carbon composites are the best materials humans have made for withstanding high temperatures. North Korea probably got the basic materials from Russia and used those to develop their own advanced composites. This allowed them to create powerful rocket engines that they seem to be getting ready to use.
Kim showcasing plans for a new ICBM ahead of a trip to China where he will stand side by side with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin shows the regime's will to go against the U.S. with its developed missile production systems. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik will represent South Korea at China's Victory Day parade on Wednesday. And while his planned attendance has sparked speculation about a possible encounter with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, intelligence authorities here have reportedly ruled out any such prospect. Woo nonetheless will meet with senior officials from China's National People's Congress and State Council before returning home on Friday. The current Lee administration has replaced all 7 of South Korea's 4-star generals who were in charge at the time of the former Yoon administration's short-lived martial law on December 3rd. Our Choi Soo-young has details.
The government has announced a major reshuffle in South Korea's military, replacing all 7 of its 4-star generals. Kim Jong-un, currently head of the Strategic Command, has been nominated for the top post of chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Defense Ministry said Kim has held key positions in the Air Force and is considered the best fit as an expert in joint operations and force development. Kim will go through a confirmation hearing before his appointment is finalized, and if approved, it would mark the 2nd time in a row for the position to be held by someone outside the army. Kim Gyu-ha, now head of the Missile Strategy Command and described by the government as an expert in defense strategy and joint firepower, has been named the Army Chief of Staff. Kang Dong-gil, a specialist in maritime operations and currently head of the Joint Chiefs Directorate of Military Support, will lead the Navy. In the Air Force, Son Seok-lak, recognized for his expertise in air operations and overseas education and training for the armed services, will serve as Chief of Staff. Other key appointments include Kim Sung-min as Deputy Commander, ROK U.S. Combined Forces Command, Chu Sung-un as Commanding General, Ground Operations Command, and Kim Ho-bok as Commanding General, Second Operations Command. With this, all 7 4-star generals who were part of the military leadership at the time martial law was declared last December have now stepped down. The Defense Ministry said the full replacement is aimed at bringing fresh leadership and quickly stabilizing the armed forces. Apart from Kim Jong-un, the other 6 were appointed by President Lee Jae-myung after a cabinet meeting on Tuesday. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
In other news, a reality show on a streaming platform is sharing music collaborations between iconic artists of the 80s and 90s like Kylie Minogue, teaming up with K-pop idols to reimagine their greatest hits. Our features reporter An Sung-jin has more.
You've K-popped it.
What would it be like if the Spice Girls and Boyz II Men were K-pop groups? That's what a new reality show aims to find out. The show K-pop was released last Friday, made by executive producers Lionel Richie and Megan Thee Stallion, and co-produced by CJENM. K-pop artists including ITZY, ATEEZ, Kiss of Life, and STAYC are paired up with global music legends like Kylie Minogue and Kesha to recreate some of their most iconic songs. 8 episodes have been released on Apple TV+, and every episode highlights the cover performance together and the precise K-pop style choreography, alluding to the title, Kpopped. Not only were popular songs like Savage, Say You'll Be There, Can't Get You Out of My Head performed with a K-pop twist to it, but the artists also tried wearing hanbok, tasted Korean food, and visited local spots. One expert says the show could give viewers a deeper understanding of the unique aspects of K-pop.
K-pop has a strong fandom, so not only does it have a persistent demand, but now they are trying out more new things.
According to Flix Patrol, which ranks TV shows and movies on the mainstreaming platforms, Kpopped ranked 4th for its global popularity and topped the chart in Korea. Following the craze for K-pop demon hunters, maybe Kpopped could be the next piece of K-pop content to make waves on streaming platforms. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Up next, we share with you the 2nd installment in our series of stories on South Korea's development assistance initiatives in Uzbekistan. And today we touch upon the role of vocational training centers set up by the Korea International Cooperation Agency in the Central Asian nation. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young reports from the ground.
Makhmudov Mansur was a disillusioned dental trainee turned taxi driver, earning $100 a month. In his late 20s, he enrolled in a vocational program run by South Korea's Foreign Aid Agency. For the last 8 years, Mansur's been running a publishing and IT firm, earning $800 to $1,000 a week.
I came with no background in it and worked as a taxi driver. What I learned at the center enabled me to run a 40-person business. Based on 8 months of study and 2 months of internships, 2 of my classmates and I founded a company. With our new factory, I expect to hire 120 more workers and hope to continue creating quality jobs.
One of 5 vocational schools set up in Uzbekistan by Korea International Cooperation Agency, the Samarkand Vocational Training Center nurtures young professionals in mechanics, electrical engineering, IT, computer graphics, and more. After completing a year in Samarkand, plus 2 years at a South Korean university, graduates go into business or land high-quality jobs with their acquired skill sets and Korean language skills.
I'm currently learning the basics of machinery. If I continue my studies in Korea, I hope to receive more advanced training there and eventually secure a good job.
Inspired by Korean online lecturers, this 30-year-old student aspires to become a mechanics professor.
Many of us had never seen such machines before, but Koreans brought these over and showed us. We were blown away. With this training, we can earn more than in jobs like driving buses or taxis, construction, or teaching.
With a population of 35 million, 6 in 10 Uzbeks are under 30 years old, meaning there's a huge demand for work. Around 500,000 enter the job market each year. KOICA's vocational centres have together produced 11,000 graduates, with a 92% employment rate.
When the Tashkent and Samarkand centers first opened, no other institution could provide even short-term vocational training. By showing what our center can do, we've set a shining example. So today, the Uzbek government now operates 65 vocational schools nationwide, on top of the 5 KOICA vocational centers.
Beyond technology and skill training, it's crucial for young firms to acquire the know-how and connections to scale their businesses.
Here in Tashkent, KOICA is backing the growth of young Uzbek IT specialists and companies, training professionals and linking businesses together to create a high-tech ecosystem.
Since 2021, KOICA provided funding, training and hardware support for IT Park, a tech hub set up by the Uzbek government in 2019 to foster digital export businesses and attract global IT firms to Uzbekistan. IT Park offers business-to-business matchmaking, education in areas like artificial intelligence and data analytics, as well as further networking opportunities for resident companies.
We could learn about new trends and also network with Korean companies, so I'm recommending this program to others in the industry.
The capacity building program has trained over 630 students to date. Once the center of global commerce as a major Silk Road hub, Uzbekistan is working with South Korea to produce young technicians sporting new tricks of trade. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Tashkent.
With strong and heavy rain falling, heavy rain warnings were issued for the eastern part of Jeju Island and heavy rain advisories in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island today. Tomorrow there will be showers in Chungcheongnam-do province and the southern parts of the country between morning and evening. And on Thursday there will be rain in the central part and showers in the southern parts of the country. Heatwave warnings are still in place in the south and Jeju Island. In these areas, it feels as hot as 33 degrees Celsius. As the heat continues for the time being, there will be frequent showers as well. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Daegu, and Gyeongju will start off at 23 degrees and Busan at 25 degrees. Highs will top out at around 30 to 32 degrees, very similar to today. This summer heat will ease off a bit on this weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session, so do stay with us. Thank you for now.
Welcome to the globalists. Welcome to the globalists. Welcome to the globalists. We're in a new set, a brand new set.
I am a globalist. And I'm the globalist.
And I'm the globalist who wants to bring Jang right into your kitchen.
인식 시작합니다.
헤이 미러, 오늘의 운동 루틴 시작해줘.
네, 오늘의 운동 루틴을 시작하겠습니다. 레디, 고! 좀 더 앉아 보아요. 4, 3, 2, 1. 고생했어요.
We are a well-known company in the field of road safety facility manufacturing. We operate the factory nationwide in Korea to go beyond the demanding safety standards of the ages. We are a global network, local, worldwide, the global small and strong company appointed by Korean government. We are KSI.
We move. Annually, we invest more than 10% of our total revenues in research and development and 15% in the R&D workforce. Main products: pneumatic cylinders, solenoid valves, hydraulic cylinders, air preparation units, and grippers, and all other products are manufactured through systematic management. KCC Precision.
Netflix sensation K-pop Demon Hunters continues to fuel interest in and travel to South Korea. With more press perspective today. Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Press Perspective. It's September 2nd here in Seoul. I'm Min Sun-hee. Today we revisit the popularity of K-pop demon hunters and its ripple effects on travel trends here in South Korea. For more on this, I have Celia Fioretti with French daily Le Croix here in the studio. Celia, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
I also have Chin Yu-young with American Daily, the New York Times. Live on the line. Yu-young, it's good to have you on.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Right, we will start here in the studio. Celia, K-pop Demon Hunters has become Netflix's most watched movie ever. Let's start off with the factors behind this feat as shared by the foreign media.
Well, foreign media point to several factors behind the record-breaking success of K-pop Demon Hunters. First, the film really struck a chord with families. Parents and children have been watching on repeat since its release in June. And the catchy soundtracks also help. I'm sure everybody heard here in Seoul, even in the shops in the street, the anthem, Golden. And that repeat viewing was very crucial. Unlike most of Netflix movies, the hit fade usually after a few weeks, but here it's been constant all throughout summer, and it stayed around about 25 million views per week for 2 months straight, which is enormous. And second, it also generated a sort of cultural moment. Social media is flooded with people singing, dancing along, parents admitting they also are hooked on the show, on the film, and sing-along version even topped the US box office, something unprecedented for a Netflix program. And third, also the story itself. It's a girl band battling demons. It blends K-pop with also this animated style, very popular and feels fresh. It's a new story, something we never seen before. Nowadays, Hollywood is always repeating the same movies and remastering old ones or making sequel. And finally, something fresh for the audience. I really liked it. And finally, also the commercial impact of all this. Retailers initially ignored the trend. They were not really ready for it, but now are scrambling, bringing all the merch and selling it. Reminds some people of the Frozen, the Disney movie. Also, it was a hit and nobody saw it coming. Nowadays, people also talk about a possible sequel to K-pop Demon Hunters. We'll see in the years to come, but really it shows how just a single movie can create a global phenomenon.
Right, and staying with that, Yu-young, the New York Times recently published an article titled "The Overlooked Element to the K-pop Demon Hunters Phenomenon." Do tell us a bit about this element and your takeaway.
Sure. So in this story, an element that was highlighted as something that has been overlooked is the role that fandoms play in K-pop and how fandoms make K-pop stars really famous. I think we can all relate to the ability of being a fan of something. It doesn't necessarily have to be K-pop per se, but we've all been a fan of an artist or a sports team, or even maybe a play or a musical. And I think people really resonated with being a fan of something and finally being recognized in the film, not as a background role, but as a really key player to this very, very popular story. In particular, K-pop fans are really passionate. They're on par or even more fervent than fans from other countries. And all of this has to do with Jong, which is a Korean term for deeply held affections that people have towards one another. And this really affects the type of parasocial relationships that Korean audiences have with their favorite stars. Growing up, I grew up abroad, and being a fan of K-pop was something that I kind of had to hide. People sort of had to keep it on the down low if they were a K-pop fan. It was considered sort of cliche and cheesy. But I think this film really highlights that that's no longer the case. It's becoming very mainstream, a very common thing to be a K-pop fan. And I think this movie really drew on the heartstrings of a lot of K-pop fans around the world who finally felt like it was their time to shine. Like I mentioned, not just as a background character, but as a really pivotal character or characters, a body, a moving force behind the popularity of the main characters of this film.
Right, and Yu-young, do you suppose this element, that is the fundamental understanding of fandom, respect for the fandom, this element, do you suppose it looks to have an impact on future screen productions related to K-pop?
I definitely think so. This movie really just scratched the surface of a really vast and rich culture of fandom and fandom history here in South Korea. There's so much to explore, starting from sort of the roots of fandom culture here. You know, K-pop in South Korea has been for a long time targeted towards a really young audience, lots of high school fans, lots of fans in their early 20s. And as K-pop has become global, these fan bases, the demographic has expanded drastically. So now you see K-pop groups that are produced and marketed originally towards a very young fan base, now having fans in their 40s, 50s, all around the world, people of all different walks of life. And like I mentioned, this film really just scratched the surface of that fandom culture here, and I think it's very much a blue ocean. It hasn't really been explored yet, and if it has been touched upon in movies and films, it has very much been just a background role. So I'm really looking forward to seeing which direction Korean stories take in the future when they talk about K-pop and how big of a role K-pop fans will have a contribution line to these stories. I think the possibilities are really endless from here.
Right, me too. Celia, in the meantime, following the release of this animated film on Netflix, searches on Google about specific venues here in the capital city, Seoul, soared quite a bit in a number of countries, including France. Could you tell us a bit more about this trend and its implications? Yes, what we're seeing is that K-pop Demon Hunters not only dominated Netflix, but also fueling real-world interest here in Seoul, in particular since the film release. Searches for landmarks, location featured in the movie has been going on in the top search in the US, in Japan, in Europe. And in response, the Seoul metropolitan government quickly tied to this global buzz to tourism. It added a K-pop Demon Hunters tour experience to these Seoul quality programs, which is designed to attract high-end cultural travelers. Fans can now join themed tours over the city to rediscover the landmarks featured in the movie, the place that inspired the animators to design the whole movie. It's also, some programs offered a one-day K-pop dancing class or traditional arts. So it's really for everyone. You can even enjoy traditional street food featured in the movie, like Kpopped that we all know. And there's also all this sightseeing also come with now shops selling more souvenirs, merchandise linked to the movie. So it really creates a whole economy around this release. And places like Bukchon Hanok Village, COEX, DDP, Namsan Tower also all gathered now with people looking to see what they saw in the movie and what attracted them, what appealed them in the movie. So the implication here is clear. Seoul is really using the film global visibility to also show more visibility to the actual city of Seoul and bring people to places they maybe would have missed, thinking, for example, the Naksan Duregil, which is a cool place, but often not on the map for tourists. But it's featured in the movie in a good scene, so now people want to visit it. And judging by how much people like the movie, how much people maybe will come to Seoul in the next months, in the next year to visit all that, it's going to have a positive impact for the local economy. Right. Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters has also reportedly triggered a shift in travel trends among foreign visitors to South Korea. Could you elaborate?
Definitely. So going a little bit before that, since the popularity of K-dramas and K-pop has started to rise over the past few years, we've really seen a changing trend in how tourists visit South Korea. In the past, they would want to visit these very touristy areas, for example, Namsan Tower, perhaps a tour to the DMZ, shopping in Myeongdong, which is a very popular shopping district for tourists here. But we've seen a slight shift in tourists in South Korea and the types of activities that they do. Now they want to go a little bit more local. They want to experience the things that South Koreans here do on a daily basis or on their free time. And it's no exception for fans of K-pop Demon Hunters who come to South Korea, especially over the summer after the film was released. So, for example, one thing that was really highlighted in the film are these bathhouses. And it's there are open tubs, and you usually go with your family or friends, and it's considered a very local activity that people do here. It hasn't really been highlighted as a tourist activity at all, really. But following the popularity of K-pop demon hunters, tourists have sort of made it a point to visit these spa houses and experience what it's like to visit a local bathhouse. Another thing that has become really, really popular here is wearing the traditional hanbok, which is very beautiful and very elegant, and they come in all of these a wide range of colors. And this was a thing even before the film, but especially as the film has gone viral and has really taken over the globe, you see more and more people wanting to wear hanbok. For example, the hats that the Saja boys wear in their final stage. You see a lot of tourists here wearing those hats out and about, and this is a very recent phenomenon. It's only really been happening in the past 2 months or so, but visibly you can really see people taking interest in the things that were in that very movie. Another example I can think of is in the film, you see the Huntrix, the main characters, eat frutak, spicy ramen noodles, and that has also been popular for a while now. But you definitely see that people who visit South Korea want to eat the exact brand of the noodles that the girls did in the film. And you also see people posting to social media very local scenes that you really didn't see before. So there's definitely a shift from the more touristy spots and activities to something that is a bit more localized.
Right, for sure. I have friends from abroad asking me about shrimp crackers here in Korea, the seokgang. Celia, amid the rise in the number of foreign visitors to South Korea, there have been growing calls for efforts to encourage travel beyond the capital region. Based on your first-hand experience here, what are your thoughts and suggestions?
Well, that's a really important point. Right now, foreign tourism in Korea is overwhelming. Concentrated in Seoul. Last year, nearly 8 out of 10 visitors stayed in the capital, and the provincial region had visitation rates of less than 1%, except for Busan, which still attracts today a lot of people. And so the gap is really huge, and it shows how much untapped potential there is in the rest of Korea. From my own experience traveling here, what makes Korea special is not only its big landmarks, but also the smaller cities and regions where traditions, foods, and daily life really come alive. And some people point out the accessibility issue. While it's true that the KTX, the high-speed train, Korean high-speed train, covers most of the territories, outside of the big cities it stops, it might be a bit difficult to move around, especially if you don't speak Korean. Sometimes it's not necessarily translated in English. And that, I think, is one of the big issue maybe in some more remote region of Korea, is that museums are not always in English, or the location are not always in English for tourists, so it can block them to visit more. And also a bigger problem that I heard from friends or family visiting here is that Seoul is really attractive city, but the other places, the other smaller cities, lack of sort of appeal. To them, it mostly offer the same kind of experience beside the food, for example, which is the main reason also for Korean to travel to other cities. Cities might look the same, or there's not enough landmarks, historical building they want to visit. So I think it's a branding problem in some sort. Seoul can maybe act in the future as a gateway, a starting point, and maybe develop more trips to the countryside, to other cities. Also building their things that appeal to the tourist, museums, but also historical landmarks, what people are looking for on a vacation. We see, for example, in Japan, they have a really strong branding of smaller cities that is working well, and Japan has a longer experience. People have been visiting Japan for up until the 70s, 80s. Korea, international tourism is fairly recent. It's been maybe 15 years old. So it's really the beginning, but it's a good way to start. There's a lot of things to do. I'm sure Korea can find a way to brand other region. Gangwon-do, for example, is not very well known even for Koreans, and there's a lot of things, beautiful things there to see. So I think if they resolve this problem of branding and making the easy access for foreigners, people will come everywhere, also in Seoul.
Right. Moving forward, Young, what do you believe has been the impact of the popularity of K-culture on its soft power?
So the popularity of K-culture has had a huge influence on the nation's soft power. This has been really great for not just the people who are producing the music or are making these films and dramas, but really its influence on the rest of the world. Largely, South Korea has made a name for itself in the global market as creators and people who can really bring a really creative and fresh storytelling mindset to the table. We see this in global recognition. We've seen, creators take awards at the Emmys. They've performed at music festivals like Coachella, and most recently, South Korea won its first Tony Awards. But this isn't just about making a reputation for the creators here in the K-pop and K-drama scene. The success of K-culture has really had a huge impact on the country's economic sector as well. Sectors like food and makeup have had record level exports in the first half of the year. And like we touched upon, the levels of tourism have been rising. So the popularity of K-culture, which has in the past more or less been known as K-pop and K-dramas, has really spread to these other sectors as well. And another thing that has been a really big influence due to the popularity of K-culture is the role that its stars have on the global youth. K-pop stars and actors are now sort of stepping beyond their roles as just artists and are really looked to as beacons of light and hope for the global youth. For example, in 2018, BTS gave a speech at the United Nations for young people, and the main message was to love yourself. And that was sort of a first for a K-pop star to sort of step onto a global platform and deliver such a strong and empowering message to the youth. So you see these icons that are first known for their artistic skills and mindset, but they've grown into such a bigger role here. I think we will see more of this in the future. We really just only started to see the first step of that change. But definitely with the expansion of K-pop and K-dramas as they continue to travel across the world, I think we'll definitely see more spread and popularity across different sectors, like I mentioned before, and also see the celebrities stepping into a bigger role and setting an example for the global youth.
Right, loving yourself. That's also a message in K-pop Demon Hunters as well, to love yourself. Right, Celia, perhaps in recognition of its greater potential, APEC for the first time in its history placed culture at the center of its economic agenda. Could you tell us a bit more about the inaugural meeting in Gyeongju last week?
Yeah, indeed, it was last week, and APEC put for the first time the culture at the center of its economic agenda. The inaugural meeting took place last week with cultural ministers, senior officials from 21 member countries, including the US, China, Japan, or Australia. The focus was on cultural and creative industry, which are increasingly seen not just as soft power, but also a tool for growth in respective countries. South Korea Culture Minister Choi Woo-young chaired the event, stressed that these industries now will play a direct role in the economy of a country, and cooperation on this field could be as vital as a trade or technology transfer in the years ahead. And Korea is really the country to show that with its strong soft power and cultural industry that is a beacon now in the world and helping the country's growth. So it was really an example, and Gyeongju also is a cultural, historical city, very famous here. So it was really a good location. Bilateral meetings were also held on the sideline, including with Japan and Indonesia, and to discuss cultural partnership between the countries. And there was also a strong private sector's officials there. We can mention like K-pop agency like GYP, YG, and HYBE attended the event. It also underlined this Korean method of public and private cooperation to boost cultural industry, which really works here, and I think a lot of countries want to also mimic that strategy. Overall, the dialogue wrapped up with plans to adopt a joint statement of commitment, making Gyeongju the starting point for APEC new cultural agenda for the years to come, and it signaled really a clear shift. Culture is no longer just an accessory on the side of economy, it's part of the economy.
Right. Yoo-young, what do you suppose is next for K-pop Demon Hunters? I mean, we, Arirang TV, had the pleasure of playing host to director Maggie Kang last month, and she talked about the possibility of a sequel while speaking to my colleague Park Kon-woo. What are you keeping an eye on with regard to its global popularity?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I think the biggest buzz right now is will there be a sequel or not? Right now, there's reports that they are in talks with Netflix for a sequel, although it's yet to be said if that is officially a confirmed thing at this point, but definitely a lot of excitement for K-pop Demon Hunter fans around the world. There are also other ways that the creators of this film could go about, I guess, retaining the level of popularity or spreading it even further. For example, another alternative could be making a spin-off series for some of the other characters. A lot of the other characters had really strong potential for storylines. We saw a little bit of Chinu, the main character of the Saja boys. We saw a little bit about his past, but it wasn't as deeply explored as the Huntrix girl storylines were. So I think there's lots of potential there to delve on more stories for other characters in the film. Another thing that I've been keeping my eye on is, as everyone all over the internet has mentioned, K-pop Demon Hunters has really stylish, beautiful and cute animated effects to the film. So I've been seeing reports that a lot of gaming companies are also wanting to get the right to develop video games that is surrounded on K-pop Demon Hunters. Another thing that Celio mentioned before is merchandise, for example, dolls of all the characters or plushy animals of the tiger and the maggot. Another thing is that I think if we look at a little bit of the larger picture here, this is one of the first storylines of this magnitude of success of a collaboration between different creators across the world. So this is a story about South Korea and very much South Korean elements, but it was created by Maggie Chang, who is a Canadian director. But in her interview, she was mentioning how she consulted with a lot of South Korean creatives to make sure she got all of the cultural nuances correct, from the look of the roads on the street to how the subway seats looked. And she really wanted to make sure that this was very, it felt very authentically Korean. I think with the popularity of this film, we see that there's potential for so many more collaborations across oceans to be made. And this is really great because this could expose or open the floodgates, if you will, for South Korean stories to have even more visibility and more accessible to a non-Korean speaking audience. So it's really exciting to see what the potential is here, both for K-pop Demon Hunters as its own IP, but also the larger impact this will have on Korean storytelling in the future.
Right, for sure. So much to look forward to. Yoo-young, thank you so much for that. I'm afraid that's all the time we have, but thank you very much for your insights, Yoo-young. And here in the studio, Celia, thank you very much for your time and thoughts. Right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Press Perspective. Thank you for watching. See you same time tomorrow.
이어온 우리의 지혜가 제천에서 다시 태어났어. 세대를 관통한 선조들의 건강 빅데이터.